kind of earlier a few months ago, I went viral on Reddit. So I made this Reddit post on r slash AMA, and it was the number one trending post on Reddit r slash AMA for, I think it was either 24 or 48 hours. Craziest thing that had ever happened to me. Comments and replies, and so I answered a couple of them throughout the night. Went to bed. When I woke up, it was like super trending everywhere, which was crazy. I didn't think till later. Like I started linking like my LinkedIn and some of my other social media accounts, and I had a ton of people like flood me with messages. It was awesome. But I learned a couple of things, and here's the things that I learned from that viral Reddit post. Number one, people care about the struggles and the underdog story when you're trying to, whether it's build a business, learn a skill, whatever it is. So the actual name of the post that I had was, it was how I went from a broken homeless college dropout at 19 years old to making over $500,000 by the time I was 26 without a college degree. Ask me anything. And there were a couple of different topics that people were primarily asking me about, in particular, and they had to stem with, one, people wanted to know, well, what was it that you did in order to actually start making that money? Number two, people were like, is it possible for me to be able to make that kind of money? What were the steps? What were the processes? What would you recommend learning? And all in all, it was a really good experience. Another thing that I did is, it was kind of a variation of a post that I had already made once. So about a year ago, I made a very similar post in the exact same subreddit, where I was just kind of, again, just kind of talking about my experience, and it got a lot of views, but it didn't get a million views in like 24 hours, right? Like that's kind of crazy. And so when I compared what I did with the second post to what I did to the earlier post from a year ago, number one, I definitely included way more detail, especially personalized detail. So like in the first post, I was like, hey, I do development. I went from being a broke homeless college dropout to making all of this money, and it was kind of generic. I didn't mention any of the companies that I'd actually worked at. I didn't mention, I don't think I mentioned where I was or how it was that I did it. It was just very, very vague. Again, still got quite a bit of views, but not as many as this one. This one, like I mentioned, the college that I went to. I went to UNLV. I mentioned the fact that the very first company that I had ever worked for, Vaptasia, right? They were an e-commerce company, and it was crazy. It was like just including small details like that. It made such a difference for people that I actually had one of the customers for Vaptasia reach out to me in the comments, and they were like, "Hey, there was a product that they used to sell. It was called the Milk of Poppy," and they're like, "Hey, like I love the Milk of Poppy. That's amazing that you used to work for them. I used to love their products." And I was like, "Wow, that's crazy." Like I met this person who bought their products from Reddit just because I included that small detail. They were like, "Oh, let me check out this guy's post." If somebody went to, there were people who went to UNLV who were in the comments, and so including those small personalized details, I think that helped the story for a couple of different reasons. Number one, it made it unique to me, so people were much more likely to be able to identify with the story because they're like, "Oh, this was a broke college student. He was going to UNLV. He's homeless, right? He's trying to help take care of his parents and his family and his siblings and all those kinds of things." And so, because they were able to really paint this mental picture, because I included all of those details, I think it really helped people to be like, okay, this isn't like AI slop. This isn't a fake, vague post, anything like that. Like, okay, I can actually identify with this guy. And so it was a very overwhelming response for sure. So it was showing, hey, here's the bad state that I was in. Here's how I was able to get out of that. Here's the exact step-by-step plan that I would take in order to be able to get out of that. And so I think that showing that kind of rags to riches, or here's this problem that I had, here's how I was able to fix it. I think just because of the scale that it was, right, going from being homeless to making that kind of money, like that's, most people would see that and they're like, oh wow, that's something that's a little bit uncommon. And so I think that it's that pairing right there is what made it go viral. And so it's funny because at first, before I posted it, to be honest, I was a little bit self-conscious because I thought, well, I got to include these personal details. Who likes talking about being homeless, like the whole nine? And so I'm thinking that those would be negatives to the story, but they actually ended up being, positives because people were able to identify with that struggle. And so if I had one takeaway from it, it would be whenever you're making any kind of like content online, right? Whether it's doing live streams or whether it's making short form content or whether it's making long form content or even doing a written form of content like that Reddit post was, to not shy away from personalized details and actually like humanizing it and sharing things that might be a little bit embarrassing but are unique to you as long as they're relevant to your story and how you went from point A to point B. I think that's the primary thing that I had that was a takeaway from it. The other thing was I didn't realize how popular written content actually still was. So obviously, right, everybody's seen all of the AI slop that's getting posted. I just saw an article the other day on LinkedIn. It said that I think it's over half of all of the posts right now that are written they're actually coming from AI. Like people aren't writing half of the posts that are being posted on the internet as we currently speak right now. And so when I read that, right, I see that and I go, oh, damn, like, what's the point of me trying to post content online in written form if most of it is getting automated and it's going to be AI based anyways? The AI is going to be able to crank out content way faster than I can, so there's no point. I think that's actually the opposite way that I should see it and that people should see it, is because yeah, sure, like it can crank out slop faster than you can, but it can't actually crank out the kind of content that people want to be able to see. Like there's hundreds, thousands, millions of blog posts that exist on the internet, but the reason people clicked on that one that I posted specifically was because they saw those details that it either piqued their interest, they could identify with it, or they wanted to know more about who I was and how it was that I actually did the thing that I did. And so, because of that, I think that's going to be the key differentiator, especially with there being so much noise because of the AI slop. Is if you can take the personal details and the things about your story that are unique to you, right? Not being a poser, not faking anything, but the struggles that you went through that are unique and personable to you, and then how those things made you a stronger person, the skills that you were able to get coming out of those things. I think that's what's really going to set apart people and brands, particularly now, like again, because you have all of this AI content that's going on. And so it was, like I said, it was a very interesting scenario that happened for me, especially because I wouldn't even particularly say that, I had a lot of reach or like I had a particularly like large audience or following prior to this. Like it was my very first time posting inside of that subreddit. Um, like even on LinkedIn, like I've got a newsletter on LinkedIn, but I mean it's not huge and ginormous kind of thing. So it was literally just purely from engagement. It didn't have any kind of prior traction, any kind of prior authority or connections or anything like that. And so it was like I said, it was definitely a learning experience for sure, and it's something that I want to play around with and experiment with more because one, like it seemed like it helped a lot of people. I mean, even just like the sheer volume of people who reached out. I did a lot of learning myself when I did the post because I realized, there's a lot of computer science students or aspiring software engineers or people who already are engineers, but they're trying to transition where it is that they're at in their career right now. And, they're nervous, they're worried, they're scared. And I completely understand it. I completely get it. The reason that they're nervous and the reason that they're scared is, right, everybody's seeing all of the headlines that have been, it feels like every single news cycle they're happening, but all of the headlines over the last couple of years with Anthropic, right, the CEO of Anthropic, the CEO of NVIDIA, Sam Altman, it seems like every other week or every couple of weeks they'll come out with a statement saying, oh, software engineering is dead, coding has been solved, nobody has to get into software engineering. And a lot of it is just like not true, right? Like the industry has changed for sure. But like AI is not, it's not replacing developers and it's not going to be replacing developers for a long time. I mean, even when you look at the latest kind of bout with that, with the whole Claude Mythos thing and all the hype that's been going on around Claude Mythos, it's every time these CEOs that come out and they say that, oh yeah, we've solved coding and software engineering forever, it turns out to just like not be true. They've been saying that for years at this point. And so I think another reason why it resonated was because when people found out that the way that I went from homeless to software engineer was, or yeah, from homeless to over 500,000 was because I was a software engineer. They were like, oh, hey, I'd like to be a software engineer. Oh, hey, like I'm an aspiring software engineer. How is it that I can do what this guy did? That was like the overwhelming majority of the comments was people asking, what is it? What skills do I need to learn? What programming languages should I pick up? What can I do to replicate what it is that you did? And so I think that's the other reason because there's a huge shakeup right now in the tech industry, and there's a lot of uncertainty when it comes to programming and software engineering. It was a topic that really, really resonated with people, even though the subreddit wasn't particularly a kind of like technical subreddit, should we say? So, oh, appreciate you, Jalen, my guy. You the goat. Oh, so this is so I rent out an office that I work out of. Sorry, it's a little loud. They're doing construction right now. I live in Vegas, so it's like 5:13 in the morning right now. I'm just grabbing my stuff out of the car. Oh, and we're gonna head up into the office. There's drop the AirPod Pro Maxes. Can't do that. Okay. Whew. It always feels good getting to the office before the sun is even up. I don't know, it just makes you feel better than everybody else. You're like the competition is sleeping right now. All right, I gotta switch to my app in order to be able to open up the door for the office. I hope it doesn't end the live stream, but if it does, I'll just start it again. So let's see. This in here. Normally on days like this, when I get up super early, I can be one of the first people here. Yeah, I love it here, Stan Commons. Here's my office. I know, super organized, super tidy, I know. Alrighty. Grab this, alright. Go ahead and I'm just gonna pull my laptop out so I can set this up. There we go. Alrighty. Let's see. I think I can just pull up. I'm gonna actually pull up the actual Reddit post so you guys can see it. Okay, so let me log into Reddit real quick. Yeah, see, look. Even here, just is like some of the residual from the post. You can see I got like 20 messages from people who are trying to message right now. So, back. Posts. Okay, here we go.
So here's the post. So I posted and I said I went from broke and homeless at 19 to $500,000 at 26 without a college degree. Ask me anything. And then right here, this is just kind of like my intro paragraph that I had. So it was back in 2017. Me and my parents, siblings, and grandmother were homeless, sleeping in a U-Haul van while I was a sophomore in college at UNLV. King Griffey. Oh, thanks. At UNLV. Mom was working as a flight attendant. Then she left the airline for health reasons. When her retirement money ran out, 500K, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's 500K. Yeah. Retirement money ran out. Mom and dad were both sick, and we ended up losing, yeah, while I was attending UNLV. Oh, that's definitely a typo. UNLV for computer science, open to land a computer science job. We ended up staying with family friends. I ended up doing some not so friendly things. Who ended up doing some not so friendly things to my family. I was working at Dunkin' Donuts as a barista. So this was one that people had asked me about quite a bit also right here. So I said, I would wake up at 3:15 in the morning to catch the bus from downtown Vegas all the way to North Las Vegas, which was very true. It was a grind for sure, but I mean, those are the days that kind of build character. After getting off of work at 1 or 2 p.m., I'd head across the street to Starbucks with my laptop and code for 4 to 6 hours a day. Oh, thank you. Every single day, normally on Pluralsight, learning mostly Node.js, TypeScript, Angular, React.js. I worked on building my own side projects to build up a portfolio. Went on Indeed and started applying to jobs like crazy. After hundreds of applications, eventually got a call back. A company called me back for an interview and paid me contracting, and it was $35,000 a year. Yeah, so that was the very first company that I started working for. That was really how I kind of got my foot in the door. And this is another one that people ask me about a ton. So here, let me show you some of the actual analytics from it. So if you look down here, 1.1 million views, which was crazy. Like when I tell you, like watch, see more analytics, incredible. This is your number one post of all time, and then it breaks down the reach, right? Yeah, let me get it to focus. There we go. 1.1 million, like it was insane. And so then it kind of just breaks down all of the different analytics, where it is that these people came from. So about half of them came from the United States, 10% was from Canada, 7.3% from the United Kingdom, 32.2% was from everywhere else. It had 816 upvotes, and the upvote ratio was mostly positive. Almost 200 comments. So see, these were some of the top ones that I was getting from people. So it was like, hey, if you were 19 today, would you take the same path, or would the same path give you the same success, given the news that the coding market is saturated for a beginner today? Pluralsight, is it still a good place to start? How should we finance, accounting, people leverage AI coding tools to be relevant? So like this right here was like the prime example of the kinds of questions people were asking. And so almost everybody asked very, very similar questions. And so yeah, after I first posted this, like I said, it was crazy because one, I did not expect it to get the traction that it did. That was for one, the reason why it was crazy. But the other thing was, after I noticed when I woke up the following day that the post was really, really starting to pop off, I was like, oh, well, if people want to know more about who I am, what it is that I do, let me go ahead and, just, kind of link some of my socials. And so when I did, so I was late to linking the socials. It had already kind of popped off by the time that I did that. But again, like I threw in my LinkedIn, I think I threw in my YouTube channel, just a couple of different, just sales channels and stuff like that. And, excuse me, I think immediately like 80 people reached out to me to connect on LinkedIn, which again, like I said, I was just overwhelmed, and honestly really grateful for just the number of messages that came in and how many people wanted to connect after that, because there were a lot of people who said that they were in similar situations and that they felt really, really inspired by the fact that I was able to go from that situation to, be able to get myself out of it. And it was a very good experience, right? And so that's why I think that when it comes to making content, if you've gone through something that's particular to you, that was particularly difficult, that was a very, very hard struggle, that kind of thing, then rather than seeing it as a defeat or something that's negative, you can turn it into a positive by being like, hey, I went through this bad thing, but here's how I was able to overcome that bad thing. Because there's other people that'll be able to sympathize with that. So that's kind of the whole spiel and like a high level overview of what happened with the post. It was fantastic. I would love to do more Reddit posts in the future. And if you like this kind of content, just let me know. You can hit the subscribe button or hit the comment button, and I'll see you guys in the next one.